Stories with sources behind the facts.
The Lagos State High Court has convicted, suspended the Chicago certificate story. It's never going away, is it? Show with stories for the day.
You hear diverse voices and opinions.
And she was meeting campaign with the husband, knowing that.
You should not feel happy because there is nothing to happy about.
Yeah, it's quite pathetic the way the country is going.
We distinguish each story accurately with analysis.
It's Hard Facts with Maryann Okon on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
.3 Nigeria Info. Welcome. I did tell you that on this side of the clock we'll be talking more about this coup and the diplomatic row that we've had all through the weekend into today. West Africa is once again balancing on the edge of a sharpened blade. Yes, in Benin Republic, a sudden military coup has triggered shockwaves across the region. Within hours, Nigeria activated diplomatic channels, deployed pressure points, and scrambled to clarify reports of Nigerian Air Force planes entering AES space, which is Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. The AES bloc already locked in a standoff with ECOWAS called the flights a violation. Abuja insists they were routine logistics. Meanwhile, Benin Republic's fragile political transition hangs by a thread. France is quietly assessing its losses, and the region's security architecture feels like a chessboard where someone keeps shifting the pieces when no one is looking. West Africa, for all we know, has seen 6 successful coups since 2020. The fault lines are widening. The democratic map is shrinking. And the question now is whether Nigeria is still the region's heavyweight. I mean, we saw what happened. We scrambled and we sent soldiers there. Can Nigeria really still manage the storm without slipping into a larger geopolitical fight? My guest is an international policy analyst, a former ECOWAS spokesperson, Dr. Paul Ejime. He joins us live via Zoom. It's so good to have you join us, and welcome. I think I can start saying happy holidays now because Christmas is already around the corner.
Thank you, Maryann. And well, life goes on with all the crises you have enumerated. I think problems are there to be solved. Life is about looking for solutions to the myriad problems that we have to. You see, Myriad and Maryann, you see, they are very close.
I would rather not be associated with many. I'm one. Anyway, let's start by looking at the situation in Benin Republic and how Nigeria responded. I mean, of course, Nigeria there being ECOWAS, obviously representing. But then, obviously, there's been that question as to why did we send the troops without due process being done? Let's start from there, Doctor.
Okay. As the issue is that when your neighbor's house is on fire, you have to do something. You don't wait until it really gets to. It was because the coup contagion, the coup syndrome was getting too close to home, and Nigeria needed to act. And you talked about the fact that Nigeria was regarded as the regional superpower, and it still is. So as the hegemon, like what America is doing to the rest of the world, you have to show it, not just say it, but demonstrate it. So that is what is happening. And so going to Benin by Nigeria, we can justify that. Of course, you know that after that, the Senate, the National Assembly, if they expected that they will refuse, then you don't live in Nigeria because you know how close they are to the executive. So, but first things first, the Constitution says yes, you can deploy or send Nigerian troops away. Sections 5 and 4 and 5. Also about what you need to do. So you can send on the situation of emergency and then ask for approval within maybe 24 or 48 hours. Of course, in this case, it did pass that threshold. But what are we talking about? If it is to prevent, to fight fire, and nip something in the bud. In my place, they say when something we used to grill fish or meat, and then something comes to a goat tries to come and take it. What you do is to go and retrieve the container before you start asking for what is inside. So I think it was a case of self-preservation that the president. And remember that in October here, we didn't have the routine or the normal parade, military parade. There was a government explanation, and later there was this report about a coup attempt, and for which a number of military officers were arrested. Okay, and that was followed by a reshuffle of the service chiefs to the point that the chief of defense staff, who was removed, later has come back as the Minister of Defense. So a lot is happening that is not within the public view. And so we need to really put things in context. I think it was a case of trying to fight the fire and then
before it
something
spreads
in the pot and then and get back. So it wasn't that terribly bad.
Let's talk about when I say R here, I don't mean Nigeria, but I mean the AES versus the ECOWAS. There has been obviously that what's the word now? I'm trying to use the nicest of words. Yes, there's been no love lost between us and the AES, and for our flights to be found on ground in a country that's within the AES space, it called a lot to questions. But what do you think the ECOWAS should be doing in terms of strengthening diplomatic ties with these countries in the AES? Obviously, they have their reasons for being where they are right now, but how do we try to soften the relationship?
Okay, let's first talk about how, of course, you and I didn't fly that Charlie 130 aircraft to the place. But let's look at the explanation given by the defense headquarters. It is said that it was on its way to Portugal.
Yeah.
And then they had technical issue, which is normal. With you never can tell with all these machines, they can develop issues, and so they were forced to land or had a precautionary landing. Even the AES spokesperson didn't say that they were attacking AES airspace. He said they were also. It was a distress. An aircraft that was under distress and decided to land at the next available airstrip or something. Except that they didn't say they brought it down because they don't have unless if they are assisted by any country that has that kind of. Otherwise, they didn't say it was brought down. So I think. That is what happened. But you have talked about the fact that there is no love lost. Because, let's face it, ECOWAS, if you are dealing with ECOWAS, you're actually dealing with Nigeria. So all this issue about they left because it is only ECOWAS that can ask questions about this issue about unconstitutional change of government. They know they've been suspended and they will be asked to present their own transition program, just like the man in Guinea has done. The junta in Guinea has done that. And he has called an election for this month, 29th. The only thing is that he changed the constitution through a referendum to make him participate
in the election.
In other words, change his haki and then don the Guinean agbada, as a politician. That's what they all want to do. So now, how can ECOWAS soften. It's really not for ECOWAS to do so because they, on their own, said they were leaving. And ECOWAS has thrown the olive branch, talked about after the initial mistake, and I call it a mistake of trying to invade Niger. Okay, it was later that ECOWAS pulled back to say you cannot go and invade a member state. What you needed to do, and Nigeria also overplayed it by cutting the electricity supply to Niger. That one is not on the ECOWAS, under ECOWAS protocol. So these were some of the things that actually enraged these people. But you can also see the level of opportunism that they are doing, power grab. They are now they rushed to leave ECOWAS, but I can tell you they are still in UEMOA. UEMOA is the West African Economic and Association, French established, and they're also still using the currency, the CFA francs, that is controlled by France. They will tell you all the things about the fact that they want to cut ties with France, but they're still using that currency. So, but what is the solution? The solution is that these are neighboring countries. They are contiguous. And the idea of setting up ECOWAS, which let's give the glory to Nigeria's former president, former military ruler, General Gawan, and Professor Adebayo Adedeji, because he, along with his colleague from Togo, Edem Kojo, they did all the groundwork to get the leaders to, because your neighbor is your best security man, and we're dealing with insecurity around us now. For instance, some invaders are coming from somewhere, from Benin, and we don't have good relations with Benin. Benin can easily allow them to come in and then do havoc. And when we talk, we say, well, they are not. But the point is that whatever touches one ECOWAS country touches the other. That is why all of them should really care. My goodness. They should care about what is happening.
Yeah, I like how you dropped on this ECOWAS issue, and you used to speak for the ECOWAS. So let's ask, how strong is the ECOWAS today? Because with Niger, Mali, and all of these countries leaving the ECOWAS, one would think that it's standing on just three legs now and not four as it should be.
It's been weakened. ECOWAS is weakened. ECOWAS has lost some of those, they say it's lost its moyo, what it used to have. Remember, this was the same ECOWAS that went to stop the war in Liberia and
Sierra Leone, yes.
The same ECOWAS, and recently in 2016, 2017, when Yahya Jammeh decided not to accept the result of the election, okay? Nigeria used this same fighter jets that is sent to Benin, used it to make Yahya Jammeh agree to that, and then consider that election, and then he was escorted out in exile in Equatorial Guinea now. Okay, so ECOWAS can do all that, but they have dropped the ball in along the line. And how did they do it? They did it by the political leaders tampering with the constitutions, rigging elections, and then trying to muzzle opposition. In most of the countries, there is nothing like opposition. Even in Nigeria, everybody is it defecting or deflecting? I don't know, Maryann.
Camping, I guess. I think the camping is a safer word.
Have you defected?
I do not belong to any political party. I belong to the journalist political party.
Thank God you are still you belong to God's party. So what is there is that they not opposition. They don't want to have opposition around them. They want to operate as if they are a one-party state. And remember, that is where we are coming from in the 70s and 80s, before they now welcomed or embraced a multi-party system. So what they are doing for the civilians, they are doing everything to erase opposition and have a dictatorial atmosphere. That is bad. And that is what is causing some of the problem that is allowing the military to come in. Because when they do what they are doing and the civilians protest, they use the military to suppress them. Now the military is saying, well, if you can use us to deal with civilians, we can as well take the power. Who don't like, I don't think nobody, you put salt, sugar in anybody's mouth. They don't spit it out. They try to swallow it. So this is it. That's what power does.
All right.
It corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
I have about 3 minutes before we wrap up this conversation, Doctor. Most importantly, they say charity begins at home. And
Yes.
if we must, everybody, including opposition, have applauded Mr. President's swift response to what's happened in Benin Republic. How come we're not responsive the way we were over the weekend with the issues that are so huge? In fact, I think I can say that it's a hydra-headed monster that's, we're dealing with here in Nigeria. How come we're not reacting with that same level of swiftness? There's no responsiveness. What we're seeing is more reactionary. How come?
Yes, and that is the complexity of governance. That is probably easier to lift those loads that are less heavy than the heavier ones. The ones that you are referring to, insecurity and dealing with insurgency, Boko Haram, is complex because here you are now dealing with politicians, poor, make it that way because some people are benefiting from it. Otherwise, it should be easy. This is a Nigerian armed forces that excels each time they go on a foreign assignment. They were the ones that was part of ECOMOG and that ended the war in Liberia and Sierra Leone. So the one at home is complex. You can hear people talking about sovereignty. When President Trump said he was going to send American troops blazing, to come to Nigeria. So, but it can be done. But there has not been that sincerity. There hasn't been that political will. Something is lacking in dealing. I think who said it? Was it General Abacha in those days that said that when an insurgency or whatever lasts more than 1 month, then government is behind it. That's what he said. And remember that President Jonathan said that he had Boko Haram or terror in his government.
So yes.
That makes it difficult for any government to deal with because it's been there. So we have now to make that intentional, deliberate, and attempt to purge ourselves of all these primordial things about religion, about ethnicity, about political party affiliation, and face this national existential issue because it has become existential. If they say if you don't somebody said it, that if you don't deal with the terrorists or this, they will deal with you. So it is for everybody, the security agencies, the civilians, the government at all levels, to really leave politics aside and then take on this issue. It can be solved if we are sincere, if we muster the political will, and if we are ready to do it. I think it can be done. We don't need a President Trump to come and do it for us. We can do it. Nigeria can do it. And Nigeria can be great again, like
America.
Donald Trump will say of America.
Well, Doctor, I wish we had more time, but I will bring you back because I want to talk about the new international political strategy that the U.S. government under Trump has put out, and I think it's something that you and I should talk about. Maybe next week I'll bring you back on the show so we can talk about that. But Dr. Paul Ejime is an international policy analyst and a former ECOWAS spokesperson, and he's joined us via Zoom. Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming on the show, and enjoy your week.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And then we pray to have peace in our region, in our countries, and then in the world.
Hopefully.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Well, Lagos, that's it. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, there's more to talk about on Hard Facts. My name is Maryann Okon. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk. 99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.